Hey, tonight we're going to do a little Insalada Caprese, but I'm going to do a little twist on that tonight. Typically your Insalada Caprese is going to have tomato, mozzarella, fresh basil. The basil and the tomato came straight from the garden today. But we're going to do a little twist on it. So we're actually going to make a little homemade pesto. So instead of just using the basil as it is, we'll make a little bit of pesto. So the simple thing is we're just going to slice a tomato real quickly. So, love this knife, by the way. This is my Cutco knife, and it does a really good job of cutting because it's got this amazing serration in it. So we're just going to create a couple slices of the tomato, put it right here on the plate. So that's really kind of the first step. So next step is we're going to need a little bit of mozzarella. So I'll need a little bit of that. So we will cut that open. As you can see, it's just all full of fabulous liquid. So we will set that aside. We'll create a few slices of that. That's going to go right on top of the tomato. So we'll put a couple slices right on top of the tomato, and like that. All right, so that's pretty much all we have to do. Then I'm going to have to get rid of that liquid. So next step is really just going to make a little bit of this. Pesto. So just starting with a mortar and pestle here. So we're going to start with some pine nuts. We put the pine nuts in there, and then I'm actually going to grind these pine nuts up until they are really like a paste. So start by smashing them and grinding them, but I want a paste, almost like really, really smooth, paste-like. I'll show you this here in a second. So it's very, very paste-like. So once I get that done, then I'm actually going to start putting in some of the basil. So as I said, I got some of this basil right out of the yard here. I'm going to put that in there. And one of the things I'm going to do with that too, as I start to do it, a little bit of coarse salt. And the salt's going to help actually grind up the basil a little bit better. So I'm going to do that. And as I do it, we're just going to get the basil in here more. So that's going to go in there. And that's going to start to really form what we're wanting. So continue to mash this up, adding a little bit more basil as needed to make this paste. And as this gets mashed up, the other great ingredient that goes in pesto is going to be some olive oil. So I'm going to drizzle a little bit of olive oil in there to give it some consistency. Now, I know I put a little bit of salt in there earlier, but the other thing that's going to add some salt flavor, I grated some fresh Parmesan, so I'll put a little bit of the fresh Parmesan in there as well, which is also very salty. So be careful about it, as you don't want to over salt. Now in this particular case, I'm going to put a little bit of garlic in there too, but this entire garlic clove is way too much garlic. So I'm just going to put a little bit of garlic in there for some flavor. And drizzle a little bit more olive oil because I want to be able to put this on the top of this thing and be able to drizzle a little bit more than just having it as a solid. So, all right, so that is all set. So grab a spoon here. As you can see, the pesto is all done. So we'll add a little bit of pesto over the top here. Probably could have added a little bit more olive oil to that potentially. Sort of thin it out. We'll put that over the top. Then I like to put a little cracked pepper over the top. Cracked pepper, and one thing I really actually like on mine is just a touch of balsamic vinegar. So I'm going to add just a little bit of balsamic vinegar around the edges, and that is what we have for Insalada Caprese with homemade pesto. Buon appetito!